Well, hello everybody. This is Joe Gilroy. Welcome to what we're going to call Issues and Information here on Electric City Television. And today during the holiday season, we have what we think is a very special program. And let me just explain a little bit why we're doing this. Last summer I was introduced to an organization called the Second Mile. And quite honestly, I had never heard of it, and I'm embarrassed to say that. Today we have some representatives from the Second Mile here to tell us and to talk to us about this organization and the good work that they do. I'm actually honored to have Mr. Mark McCann with me, who I believe is the Vice President of Programming. Is that correct for Second Mile? And to his immediate left is Terry Padden, who's the Director of Development for Second Mile for the state of Pennsylvania. I think we covered the whole state. One of the directors. So you're not the big shot I really thought you were.
No.
Okay, but you are a big shot.
Very much so, if you say so.
Okay, well, and again, we're going to talk about the Second Mile, and maybe some of you out there really never heard of it either, but you're going to be glad you did, and we're going to give you a lot of information about the Second Mile, hopefully by the time our program is over today. Now, the Second Mile, correct me if I'm wrong, is a nonprofit organization serving the youth or the at-risk youth of Pennsylvania primarily?
Correct.
Yes, all youth through different programs, so we're hitting all different populations.
And is there age limits, age restrictions, gender age restrictions, gender restrictions, anything like that?
That's a good question. It varies by program, but we're really targeting 5 through 18-year-olds, and even beyond for those kiddos that go on to college or post-secondary school. We have scholarships, and we're helping the families too.
Okay, so your programs are designed, and I'm going to make an assumption here that 5 to 8, 9 to 12. I don't need the exact numbers, but we don't put 18-year-olds with 5-year-olds.
Right.
Okay. And as I said before, they're at-risk children primarily, and I know you provide young people and help them with kind of self-esteem and achieving their potential of what they can become as individuals, as well as, I believe, members of the community.
That's right. That's our mission right there.
Okay.
We're trying to teach them pro-social skills and help them reach their potential, like you said. And we're also challenging them. That's a big component. We want to challenge them to be their best and then help the other professionals who are helping them.
And besides children, how do the parents, or if it's a single parent household, how do they fit into this program?
Well, to give you one example, we have the Challenge program. It's a camp, essentially, and by having a school counselor, say, refer one of the kids he or she's working with to our camp program, we're going to then partner with the parent and do the paperwork and share what we hope the parents' involvement will be. We actually have a little orientation at the camp, and we give them a guide so that we can partner. That's really a big word for us, is partner, collaborate, to get all of us on the same page working to help their son or daughter.
Well, you said the word camp several times, and maybe we should explain to our viewers, where are these camps and what are some of the things they do at the camps or camp?
Well, it's a 5-day residential experience, and we have 5 different weeks on the Penn State campus at University Park. And then we have 4 weeks, and each week is a separate entity at Albright College in the southeast, south central part of the state. Then we have for the kids who are a little older, and camps go from 8 to 15, when we have campers who come back year after year and they're 13, 14, 15 years old. We have a special adventure-based programming camp for them. So they kind of move up a level, and then the ones that do really well there come back and they can be leaders where they're helping the younger kids in our regular camp.
So they grow and they actually get a little bit of empowerment through these camps.
Absolutely.
A little bit
Yep.
for their peers more than anything. And Terry Padden to our left here, it's also my understanding, and the research that I've done on the Second Mile and the things that I know about it now that I didn't know a few months ago, basically they're involved in prevention and early intervention for these at-risk children.
Correct.
Of males and females, of both genders.
Yep.
But besides some of the empowerment, some of the other things we talked about, don't they stress things like academics?
Sure.
And goal achievement, how to handle difficult situations, give them maybe a better understanding of what it takes to have a work ethic.
Sure.
Things like that. Now, not that I want 5-year-olds or 8-year-olds working, but
Right.
through this progression that I think we're talking about, I think as they grow and mature, the work ethic becomes somewhat important to them.
They work
You know,
to come
working
back
in
to
school
camp.
and so forth.
Mark can explain it better than I, but
Okay.
they work to come back to camp. They just don't come back because they were good kids.
So they have to earn it.
They have to earn it.
Okay. And that gives it value, I would think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to break any labor laws, but
Yeah,
we do want to teach the kids civic responsibility, and I think the message that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave, which was all people can be great because everyone can serve. So we teach community service, and we actually do that at the camps, and we do it with the kids. We have camp counselors and directors doing it as well, and we're showing them what it looks like, and then they need to go back during the off season because we have a component of the program that is not just that week of camp, but the whole 11 months after, where they're working on a community service project in their community and they're working on personal goals, and then they earn a trip back.
Well, and speaking of the trip to, and I'm assuming now that all these camps are, the camp is in-state college.
Correct.
Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, one State College and one in Albright.
One in Albright. You had mentioned that a little while ago. How do these kids get to camp? I mean, they're kids, and they're mainly underprivileged, I would think, or at risk.
Correct.
So it's not that they can hop in dad or mom's car or their own car if they're a little bit older. So how do we physically get a kid, let's say, from northeastern Pennsylvania to State College?
Well, we actually have some kids referred from, I think, right down the street, EOTC, and we might have an agency that gets a van. We might have parents who provide transportation, and we actually have a small platoon of interns in the summer, and they work tirelessly combining rides and arranging transportation for the kiddos. And if some parents can't afford it, we will try to help them. Sometimes we have access to gas cards, or if the kid's older and they need to get there by Greyhound, we can do that. We do whatever we can to make it work.
You know, just anything but walking, I guess.
Anything but walking. Yeah, keep them off the highways.
We actually, Joe, at the first event we held in Scranton was a reception at Billy Gilchrist's restaurant over in West Side
Over in
Gillies.
West Scranton, yeah. Gillies on Main Avenue, I believe.
Main Avenue. And we had about 70 people there, and the EOTC, who have referred campers to us consistently, suggested that it was becoming a big challenge to get the kids to us because their funds were very restrictive, and it cost quite a bit to get the kids. They all don't come the same week.
Yeah.
There's boy weeks and girl weeks, and so we actually had volunteers stand up and suggest that whatever is needed for this coming summer, 2010, we have people that are going to actually transport the kids for us. So the EOTC isn't burdened with that
And these are
expense.
volunteers that
These are
transport them?
volunteers that came to that meeting that stood up and said, absolutely, we'll get the kids there.
Well, just again, you're watching Issues and Information with Joe Gilroy and my special guest, Terry Padden, to my far left, and Mark McCann to my immediate left. And they're representatives of the Second Mile. And speaking of all these expenses of the
Yes,
Second
yes.
Mile, which every organization has them, and these are, you know, it's no secret, these are tough times, and whether you're in Pennsylvania or California, it doesn't matter, these are tough times. What kind of, what kind of budget does Second Mile have to work on, and how do they do some of their fundraising and so, because it's a .org type of organization, correct?
It's a nonprofit.
Yeah.
The budget is just over $2.5 million, and it's a challenge every year. One thing that we're committed to is serving the kids who have been in the program, like in our camp program before. If they earn a trip back, we're committed to serving them again in the future. And that puts pressure on Terry and his team.
The development people.
Yeah, to raise the money.
And we do not, Joe, take any money from local, state, or federal governments. We basically start off broke every year. August 31st is the end of the year, so September 1 we start anew. And it's exciting to say that we did hit our budget last year. With at times as tough as they are, we have donors that are spectacular. And we have many donors in northeastern Pennsylvania, hope to have more. And we hit our goal, and we plan on doing it this year.
Well, you know, speaking of donations in the Second Mile, and I'll mention this again before we go off the air, the address is www.thesecondmile.org. Naturally, that's all lowercase, and it's THESCONDMILE.org. And I think they can contact that at any time to ask for information, to study the organization, or to make a donation, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Somewhere along the way.
It's a good working website. And there's some websites out there that aren't so great. Our website, we're fortunate, is interactive in some ways, and you can learn all about the programs and how to give money and get involved.
Well, I'll tell you how interactive it is. Even I could figure it out because I looked on it, in the last couple of months. I've looked into it several times and so forth. But it is a fairly easy website to navigate, I guess,
Friendly.
is
Friendly.
user-friendly, maybe
User-friendly.
is the term we want. So budget, like any other organization, budget constraints, budget concerns naturally are always a problem. And I think also the viewers and the public appreciate the fact that this organization works on donations and doesn't go to let's say, the taxpayer.
Correct.
For funding.
It's
Which
true.
seems to be kind of popular today,
Very
not
much
only
so.
for nonprofits, but we won't go there today. That's an issue for another day. But it has to be a tremendous challenge in the last year and a half.
It has. We're fortunate. We joke about our president for his frugality, but it is really good. He's really good at controlling expenses, and I think we're a lean organization. We from the past fiscal year, it costs 16 cents for us to raise every dollar. And in Pennsylvania,
Yep.
you're required by law, I believe, to be under 50 cents. Anything under 20 or 25 cents is outstanding, and we're at 16 cents. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's something that appeals to people, that we're pretty efficient and lean. And it's not always comfortable for us, but we're pretty committed to doing that.
And the majority of the money goes to the children and the programs of the children,
Absolutely.
I should
Exactly.
say, which makes the Second Mile organization even more unique than some of the others. And I know we've talked about budgets and money and the website and so forth, but what makes, and I just used the term kind of off the tip of my tongue a second ago, what makes the Second Mile unique? What differentiates it from, let's say, other organizations? I don't care if they're nonprofit, for-profit, because we have all kinds of organizations out there. But the Second Mile, with their mission and their uniqueness, what separates them from everybody else?
Well, I think one thing is the private piece that Terry was talking about, and that we're statewide. There really aren't a lot of statewide organizations serving the kids and families of Pennsylvania. We're really committed to the kids returning, like I mentioned, so we maintain this commitment to them. And I think we have a unique culture. If you could see our camps in action, and if let's say you walked onto a campsite and saw what was going on, we have an incredible staff of typically about 22 young adults, and we don't really just pluck collegians and say, you're working this camp, it's, have fun and goof around. They're using this as a pre-professional experience. They're education majors typically, and the amount of care that they put in to make every single one of those kids feel welcome and feel like they're part of the Second Mile. We give them a sense of belonging. It's something that people who go for the first time and visit remark about. Kids can just be themselves. We have kids who might be taking care of younger siblings because things are tough. They get to come to camp and just be a kid and not worry about, let's say for girls, about body image, and not worry about having other responsibilities. And that's part of how we get at the potential piece. We kind of show them what's possible.
Yeah, maybe referring back to some of their core values. Can you walk us through a program or the programs? I'm not sure exactly how to say that because I'm not sure if there's more than one.
Sure.
But we have 9 different programs, and Mark oversees all of them. I can just mention one specific. We have a program called Leadership Institute. It happens in March, and we bring in high school teams, sophomores, usually a team of 5, with a counselor and/or a teacher, and they come in on a Sunday and leave on a Wednesday. It's residential. We put them up at a beautiful hotel in State College, and I had my first experience. I'd just been with the Second Mile 1 year, actually last week. So it was my first experience. Now Mark is 15 years with the Second Mile, so I have a little information. And of course I deal in the development, in talking to people and sharing information with them. But the Leadership Institute to me was spectacular just because it was my first time. I was very, very excited about it. And you take these kids, and they're specifically, like I said, younger sophomores, and they go back with a project to either better their community or better their school. And the interaction, many of the kids had never been in a hotel. Many of the kids hardly knew the kids they were with, because the teachers are not particularly going after the class leaders. They're going after kids that need some help. And what they grow into, I've been told, is just an amazing experience. And we've had kids from northeastern Pennsylvania. This past year we didn't, and we're trying to reach out to the high schools in the area and trying to get some teams for next year's event. But that to me was unbelievable. And Joe, we haven't mentioned, but the scope of this, we actually interact with about 100,000 kids throughout the state of Pennsylvania on an annual basis. And that, at times, people sit back and truly, I think it was 1982, we had 2 programs, Mark? It was,
yeah.
With about 40,
That's when we started
about 40
programming.
kids, 40, 45 kids. And now we have 9 programs and over 100,000 kids we interact with.
Well, you know, when we talk about development, and your type of development is different than what I'm thinking of. I know development is required for every organization. You can't survive without them in our society. But I'm also hearing that there's development of the children themselves.
Very much so.
Not necessarily a financial development.
Correct.
The development of their, again, of their self-esteem or self-actualization needs or whatever, you know, making them better persons. And I think, is that one of the goals of Second Mile?
That's a great insight, Joe. You're absolutely right. You know, when we have a camp program where kids might come in when they're 8 years old and they come back year after year and they earn a return trip, we'll often have children who are very anxious the first time and homesick.
Oh, yeah.
And we do whatever we can to get them through the week. I mean, if it's horrible and they're not functioning, we'll call mom or dad and we'll get them home. But if we can get them through the week and make that their personal challenge that first year, and then have them work on returning and come back that second year, they're a little different kid. And then we work on other things. And then they start to feel like they belong. And you know, if we get those kids to come back year after year till they're 15 or 16, you know, we had someone helping out last year who has fought in Iraq. He's from the Pittsburgh area. He was a camper. He was one of those campers for many years, and he said it transformed his life.
Wow.
And now he's giving back. He's been a counselor for us.
And again, let me repeat the website. It's www.thesecondmile.org. You know, all, as we know by now, all lowercase and all one term. THESECONDMILE.org. And I understand there's offices. Your main office, I would think, is in State College.
Correct.
Correct. And you have other offices, Terry? Or
Harrisburg and King of Prussia.
King of
So
Prussia.
a Philadelphia office and a Harrisburg office.
That's right.
And hopefully there'll be plans for more, but at this point in time, we're very happy to have 3.
And you know, let me mention here for a quick second, because we're talking about State College and Harrisburg and so on, but Terry Padden here, the director of development, one of the directors of development, is a Scranton native, correct?
Born and raised South Side.
A nativity guy?
Nativity guy, South Catholic.
Okay.
Lackawanna College.
Yeah. So you've seen it all being from Scranton. Now I know Mark's not from Scranton area here, but we'll adopt him. We'll let him.
Absolutely.
I'm a little brother.
A little brother.
Yeah, that's okay.
Very much so.
Once you're from Scranton, I guess you're always from Scranton.
Absolutely.
That sounds
Now,
like
a couple of minutes ago, you mentioned the president. You said the president, our president this of Second. Who is the president of Second Mile?
It's Jack Rakovitz, and he's a child psychologist by trade, and he's been at the helm for, I think, 26 years now. So we have some old timers there, just like you, Joe. So
Yeah. Well, I dye my hair gray to keep up with my friends. And Terry knows that. Terry and I go kind of way back. We were talking about that before we went on the air.
Yep.
Way back is decades back. So, but at the same time, is there a board of trustees or a board of directors set up as well for the organization to oversee
we actually have a
kind of
new
the policy
structure.
part of it?
We have a state board, which we instituted in the past year, a little different structure, and then we have regional boards based on those offices that you were talking about, you know, the Southeast and the South Central. And then in the Central region, we have a board which split off recently. So we have one state board and 3 regional boards working in tandem to oversee and guide us.
You know, and well, tell me and tell our viewers what would the Second Mile organization like to see from the people of northeastern Pennsylvania? Obviously, we'd like to see some donations. I know that, but isn't there other ways to give and to do other things for people up here?
Very much so. We're actually going to, Mark is going to be out with his team interacting with the schools, trying to get kids more active. And again, we work through a group of approximately 1,700, is it, guidance counselors?
Wow.
Right, throughout the state. So informing the guidance counselors about what we have available. And when you're talking about free programs, one of my superiors and I, she made a presentation to the intermediate unit with Dr. Rossetti.
Okay,
with Dr. Rossetti, the IU, and we talked to 20 superintendents of school. and it was very nice to be talking about all the programs when you're talking about free programs. Now specifically as far as the local people in Lackawanna County, we have a committee formed already, and we're tentatively looking at a date either April 9th or the 16th that we're actually going to have a dinner, which will be very reasonably priced, and we'll have a day of speakers, some pretty famous people we're working on, some ex-Penn State athletic people, and maybe some local celebrities. And as soon as we have that information out, we'll get it to the public. And obviously we're going to try to have as many people attend as possible.
Okay. And that will help defray some of the expenses that the second mile thing. You know, and Terry mentioned how the school districts and some of the others, and everybody's strapped for money. How they probably love that word "free" when you first approach them. I mean, that's almost that's a door opener. I understand, but at the same time, you know, there's an economic lesson, and some of the viewers know this.
And Joe, I was at a couple schools today, and I felt like I had to say I may seem like a salesman. I'm not really trying to sell anything. These are free programs, but I was at Pittston Area High School, talking about Leadership Institute, and I think Wyoming area is interested in coming. And I was at elementary school in Riverside, sharing our Nittany Lion Tips program, and so getting the word out is a huge piece, the educational piece. And if people are interested, to contact us, and we'll connect you with the right person, whether you want to donate money or volunteer or get involved some other way.
Yeah, and what I started, and that's a very valid, important point. And you know, and again, I keep talking about the costs of programs like this. But even though it's free, in economics we like to say, and pardon my grammar here, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
Right.
So somewhere along the way, down the road, up the road, whatever, there's a cost to all of this involved. And that's one of the reasons we're here today, to try to inspire people, especially during the holiday season. And I don't want to speak for the second mile, but I'm sure they'd be appreciative of any type of donation of any amount. Is there set amounts?
We have many more small donors. One of my jobs as a development person is to make thank you calls. And when I basically am calling all the donors from up here, and when someone has given us $15 consistently, every year they give us $15, and I call them at times, they just sit back and go, you realize I only gave you $15, but thank you very much. A lot of people give us $15. Yeah. Very few people give us $10,000. Yeah, well. So that anything is really well received.
Well, you know, the simple math is if everybody in our viewing area gave $1, you know, you'd have over $100,000. And I'm sure any donation is appreciated. And as Terry, I think you said, and Mark here, it doesn't necessarily have to be cash.
No, we want people to engage with us, because I think we have a great thing going, and we want to collaborate. So if you want to volunteer, if you want to get involved that way, we'll try to find a way to get you involved.
And would they contact you or Terry or the website, or what would be the
either one of us? And if you go to the website, you can send an email to the office, and then it'll get directed to us.
And we already know it's a kind of a user-friendly site, because I was able to navigate it.
I would add, Joe, you know, we certainly love any donation, but there are levels. If you feel like it's easier structure-wise to know I can help send a kid to camp, for example, we consider that a $500 donation, and we call that an angel donation. And there are other levels out there too. So I think the more you learn about the programs, and if you see something that appeals to you, it might help.
It might help them do that.
What you might want to give.
When it comes to the different types of donations, it's also important to know that they are tax-deductible donations.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Whether it's monetary, or if you can figure out what your time or vehicle expenses or whatever.
501c3. Right.
A couple other things, and we've talked a lot about the program and the structures of it, and the donation part naturally, and the website. But are there any? And when we talked about the development of the youth that go to the at-risk youth that go to these programs, are there any success stories that come to your mind? The Iraqi guy kind of reminds me of one a little bit.
Yeah.
But of the children who come in, are they? I don't even know how to describe them, to be honest with you. Some might be introverted, some might be abused, some might be just lonely. Is there any success stories of individuals that kind of stand out to either one of you, the children that have come through the program, whether it's recently or years ago, that you could share with us?
Absolutely.
Well, one thing at our event back at the end of July, we had a local young lady, and she spoke, and she had gone Avery for at least 5 or 6 years, I believe, Mark.
Yep.
And she
had Tourette syndrome.
She had Tourette syndrome, and to see this poised 19-year-old young lady talk to a group of people, 70 people, was just amazing. And of course, she says from her heart, this experience changed my life, and how tough it was the first year. She did not want to be a camper.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, things just turned. And you know, her mom found us, and she's had a great experience with us. I mean, Mark has a lot more experience with that, but that's one young lady I got to meet who is from Scranton, and got to speak at this event last July. And it was spectacular. And Mark, I'm sure, has more experience with those things.
I would say we have lots of stories like that. And I don't think all the kids we help are like that, but it's not just an isolated case. We have a lot of parents who call us and school counselors, and they say, camp has kept my son or daughter going. It's the best week of the year for them. I had a mom call me about this program. This is the Nittany Line Tips program.
Yeah, let's hold that up so the camera can take a look at it there.
And we essentially have sports cards with Penn State athletes, and we send them the counselors, and they utilize these with elementary and middle school kids. We can't give them to high schools because it would be a recruiting violation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have tips on the back on various topics like dealing with grief or issues at school or bullying. And we had a mom call me and say, in my son's classroom, and he's on the autism spectrum, and he's got some developmental issues and some learning disabilities. He used these cards to motivate himself to learn how to read. He would pick these cards out of a prize box and take them home, and part of his issue that he was struggling with, he was able to grab onto numbers and faces, and he would memorize the players' numbers, and he would read the cards with his mom, and they spent hours doing that.
Truly educational and developmental as well.
It is, and I think it shows that with our 9 programs, we have this this fabric where one program might not be right for one child, but another one will be perfect. And by having that variety and that kind of, I guess, patchwork of service, you have some kids who will just grab onto something in ways that others won't. So it's really nice. It's gratifying.
And speaking of programs, I see you brought a binder with you about bullying, which is you know, a very sociological topic of the last maybe even decade, although it's been going on for many years. And children today of all ages, whether they're teenagers or adolescents, have problems with bullying. And you know, nobody ever liked to bully, even when we were children. they didn't like bullying. Is that one of the programs, kind of how to?
Well, yeah, this, Joe's talking about this. This is a play kit, and this is our PEAK program.
Hold it up a little bit so the camera can see it there.
We have 3 modules. The first 2 are videotapes, dealing with, the first one's on decision making and the second one's on self-esteem. And after issuing those, school counselors said to us, we'd like something more interactive, and bullying's a big topic.
Yep.
So we sort of responded to the requests and the feedback, and we developed this. And it's a play kit so that there are scripts. We use dogs as the icons. It makes it pretty fun as characters. And then if there's an issue of bullying going on in a school, and this is for elementary and middle school kids, the school counselor or teacher can take this and role play with the kids and then use it as a point of discussion. We've had some high schools take this kit and perform it for the elementary school kids.
Yeah.
So it's a way to get at it in a fun way, but it's pretty powerful. And the feedback's been real positive.
And again, the website, www.thesecondmile.org, and again, headquartered in State College, and which brings me a couple other things I want to go over, and then I think we're going to wrap it up. There's some confusion that I've experienced, and I think I made this mistake myself. Of course, this is a mea culpa. What is the relationship with Penn State, or is there one?
Mark can handle that.
Okay.
With 15 years of experience.
Yeah, that's why I looked at you. I didn't look at him.
We are not part of Penn State.
That's what I understand.
We are not affiliated with Penn State. We utilize the campus, and we pay them their conference services to hold camp there. And of course, we collaborate with so many of the professors and the programs, and we go into classes and we recruit camp counselors. And we are looking for camp counselors with a year of college at least. We get asked to come and speak in classes and talk about how is a nonprofit structured. Can you do team building with us? So we have a really good relationship.
More like a working relationship.
It's a working relationship, but we are a separate entity.
Because when people, you know, this is big Penn State territory up here, a little bit of Notre Dame, well, maybe a lot, but it's big Penn State territory, and when you think of State College, a lot of people think of Penn State naturally. But I know it's a working relationship, and it's a good working relationship from what I understand, but there's no direct affiliation or association.
Correct. We're not like a
It's almost a
sub-entity.
marriage of convenience because they're there and you can use the campus and
If you pay.
And you pay for it, yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure they want to get paid for it. And again, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. We've seen that. So, Mark and Terry maybe, but let me go to Mark first because I'm always interested in how people got to their career because we all take a kind of a serendipitous journey through life. You know, we
Yes,
start off as one
absolutely
thing, thinking, you know, this will never happen, or it doesn't even enter our mind. All of a sudden, here we are 15 years later.
Yeah.
How did you get to Second Mile, and you know, what's a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm originally from Cleveland, and I went to school in New York City, and I saw a flyer on the telephone pole looking for tutors, and I was a history major, but I thought I'd try tutoring at an inner city high school, and I loved it, but it was too late to change my major. And so what I decided to do was try teaching at a private school after college, and I found a place in Maryland, and actually was told I was a volleyball coach, and there was another coach there, and ended up becoming my wife, and we moved to State College because I went to Penn State for a master's degree.
Okay.
And I saw an ad in the paper for Second Mile. I'd been doing different work. I'd worked with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and they hired me. It is a serendipitous journey.
Yes, it is.
And I've loved it ever since. It's been 15 years.
And I think that's part of life, and we find out that you know, the choices we make makes us fulfilled, I guess is the proper. I know Terry hasn't been there as long because he mentioned a little while ago he's only there. You're there 15 years, so you're the senior guy here. But you know, just in 50 words or less, how did you wind up there, Terry?
Well, I've lived in State College 35 years, since 1974. I've had several businesses. I've had many different jobs. And
so have I.
yes, and most were sales related. And a good friend of mine became the vice president of development for the Second Mile. And she had actually kind of tried to recruit me about 5 years ago to take a development position at Penn State. And I listened to what she had to say, and it did not sound like it was for me. And 5 years later, she sat down with me very quietly and said, I really think this is the place for you to be. I was aware of the Second Mile. I have to tell the truth, I'd never volunteered, but I've gone to several events and spent money at events and bought tickets. And I met with her and we talked, and I said, for me, at this point in my life, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. And a year into it, I can honestly say I have never, ever been moved like I am basically on a daily basis here. And in most jobs, it was just go in, do my job, get my paycheck. And the Second Mile, it's very different. And so I'm hopefully a lifer.
Yeah, well, maybe in hindsight, you wish you did it 30 years ago, as I like to say. But
who knows?
But if it wasn't for the other jobs, you wouldn't have gotten to this
Definitely.
one. That's the way we have to look at things. Now let's just recap one thing because this is important. You know, give us the different ways they can give, that the viewers and our audience at home can give to the Second Mile, or anybody can give to the Second Mile, wherever they may be.
Well, number one, as Mark said, not everybody can give money. Regularly speaking, if someone is thinking of giving at a financial level, they usually reference someone who has significantly more and say, I can't give like he can or she can. Whatever level you choose to give at is fantastic. There are people that will say right up front, I don't have any means by which to give financially. There's still volunteer positions. Again, we're going to be forming several committees right here in the Scranton area for different aspects of Second Mile programs. Again, we have drivers that are going to be helping us get the camp kids next summer. We're going to have foster family events where we take foster families to different locations in some fun places in the greater Scranton area. So anybody that wants to volunteer for us, you can get the address from the website or go to the website and use the internet, but our address is right on there. Mail me a card. Phone numbers are easily accessible for the Second Mile, and so it's real simple. Contact us, and we'll be able to hopefully find a spot for you.
Well, speaking of that, and I've given the website out several times here today, www.thesecondmile.org, but we have some demographics here that aren't necessarily computer literate, which is a compliment, by the way.
Certainly.
Is there a phone number somebody could call if they had to? I have your phone number here, Mark. Is that a good number to
Yes, the
call?
the 237 number.
I believe it's in State College. It's area 814-237-1719. That's 814-237-1719. and somebody there would answer the phone and they could
Yeah,
add
absolutely.
people
We
in
will
the right
connect you to the right
direction.
person.
You know, and
Yeah.
as you know, we have the website. Well, gentlemen, it was informative. It was truly a pleasure. I wish the second mile, you know, nothing but success in this area and all areas as well, because the you know, if you take care of the children, everything else will work out. I think that's one of the
Hopefully,
messages we
hopefully.
want to give. And with this, you know, holiday season rapidly approaching, or we're in the throes of it now, from ECTV and from the Second Mile and from Joe Gilroy and Issues and Information, I'd like to wish all the viewers out there, you know, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday or however you celebrate or don't celebrate, that everything is successful for you the rest of this year and the remaining of the new year, and we wish the Second Mile nothing but success as well. Thank you for viewing. Hope to see you again real soon.